What if I told you that the very truths you've been told to ignore are the same truths that enslave you? Tonight, we expose Schopenhauer's dark revelation about women, a revelation men still choose to blind themselves from. And if you dare to listen, you might finally understand why you keep losing the same game over and over again. Men have always sung songs of women. They carve statues, paint canvases, write verses soaked in longing, as if women were angels descended from the heavens. They imagine purity, divine essence, the embodiment of beauty itself. But Schopenhauer laughed at such illusions. He saw through the painted veil. He saw women not as divine beings, not as eternal companions, but as instruments, tools in the machinery of nature's will to life. Understand this: when you look into the smile of a woman, when you fall into her gaze, you are not encountering a goddess. You are encountering nature's trick. The charm is real, yes, but its purpose is not love, not transcendence. Its purpose is to bind you into service, to make you a soldier in the army of reproduction. You may dream of romance, of shared souls, of poetic destiny. But nature has no concern for your dreams. Nature concerns itself only with one command: survive and multiply. And women, whether they know it or not, are the executors of this law. Their beauty is not for art, it is for strategy. Their delicacy is not weakness, it is bait. Their very form, their softness, their curves, their voice, all carefully designed by nature to lure the male into devotion, into protection, into sacrifice. Schopenhauer called this out with brutal clarity: women are not shaped for the pursuit of higher ideals. They are shaped to seduce, to secure, to ensure that the wheel of life never stops turning. Think about the countless men who lost empires, squandered fortunes, even destroyed themselves for the sake of a woman. Were they lovers, or were they pawns? Nature laughs in the background, because its plan has succeeded. The man believes he is chasing happiness, when in fact he is fulfilling the mandate of survival. He thinks he is master. But he is servant to forces far older and stronger than his fragile illusions. This is why Schopenhauer's words cut like a knife. He stripped away the poetry and showed us the machinery. He declared that women are not guardians of truth, not seekers of reason, but agents of the species. Their loyalty is not to you, not to your glory, not to your philosophy or empire. Their loyalty is to life itself, to the continuation of the bloodline. If you stand in the way of that, you will be abandoned. If you serve it, you will be embraced. It is as ruthless as it is inevitable. But men, intoxicated by beauty, refuse to see this. They drown themselves in illusions, believing in eternal love, believing that their suffering will be redeemed by affection. Yet Schopenhauer warned, these illusions are nothing but the bait that nature casts into the waters. The man bites, and before he knows it, he is caught, bound, not by chains of iron, but by bonds far stronger. Desire, lust, longing, devotion. The most powerful prisons are those we build willingly. Now look deeper. The traits men find irresistible. The softness of skin, the brightness of eyes, the voice that soothes and invites. These are not accidents. They are calculated weapons of nature's design. Even the cycle of a woman's moods, her shifting desires, her unpredictability, all of this serves the same purpose: to keep the man guessing, to keep him chasing, to keep him invested. You cannot conquer what you do not understand, and nature ensures you will never fully understand her. That is the game. That is the trap. This is why, in Schopenhauer's eyes, women were not equal players in the realm of philosophy, science, or art, not because of lack of intellect, but because their essence was bound to a different law, the law of species, preservation. While men wasted themselves chasing ideals, women followed the raw logic of survival. To a man, love is a grand story. To a woman, whether she admits it or not, love is selection, calculation, strategy. And still, the mask remains. The poet will continue to write of angels. The lover will continue to dream of eternity. The husband will continue to believe he is chosen for himself alone. But Schopenhauer whispers from the shadows, no. You are not chosen for yourself. You are chosen because you fit the strategy, because you provide security, because you can carry the burden of nature's command. Behind the tender kiss, behind the gentle embrace, there is the will of life itself, ruthless and indifferent. This is the dark genius of women. not conscious malice, but unconscious strategy. They are nature's generals, commanding without lifting a sword. Their beauty is their fortress, their charm their weapon, their tenderness their battlefield. And men blinded by illusion march willingly into their service. They imagine themselves kings, but they are soldiers in a war they do not even see. Men have always been magicians of self-deception. They take the raw reality of existence and clothe it with fantasies. They take the plain motives of women and wrap them in poetry, in religion, in dreams of eternal love. They look at a smile and see purity. They hear a soft voice and hear music from the heavens. But Schopenhauer stripped away this mask, and what he revealed is perhaps the most bitter truth of all: men and women do not live in the same reality. Men live in illusions. Women live in strategy. Understand this difference, because it defines the battlefield of relations between the sexes. When a man falls in love, he imagines transcendence. He imagines merging souls, eternal unity, a love that conquers time and space. He writes poems, fights duels, builds monuments, all in the name of this imagined eternity. To him, she is the muse, the goddess, the divine answer to his restless soul. But in the eyes of a woman, love is never about eternity. It is about survival. It is about the present and the future of the bloodline. Her calculations are not about stars and dreams. They are about security, stability, provision, and protection. This is why men so often misunderstand women. A man offers grand gestures, thinking he speaks the language of love. But her eyes are not measuring the poetry of his words. They are measuring the solidity of his character, the depth of his resources, the strength of his resolve. The illusion that men create blinds them to the reality women navigate with precision. Men chase romance. Women manage survival. And the cruel truth: nature rewards the woman because her realism ensures the continuation of life. Think of it this way: when a man chooses a woman, he imagines he is choosing for beauty, for charm, for the intoxication of desire. He believes he is making a sovereign choice, guided by passion alone. But when a woman chooses a man, she does not choose for poetry. She chooses for advantage. She chooses the man who secures her, who carries her offspring into a safer tomorrow. The man is blind, the woman is strategic. And yet, the man calls this blindness love, while the woman calls her calculation instinct. Schopenhauer saw this asymmetry clearly. He declared that men are dreamers in love, women are realists. Men want meaning, women want survival. Men imagine they are writing histories, great love stories. Women are writing contracts with nature. And here is the tragedy: men believe women share their illusions. They project their own fantasies onto them, assuming women feel the same fire of eternal romance. But women do not. Their fire is different, colder, more precise. They are not enchanted by ideals. They are tethered to the earth. And this misunderstanding breeds suffering. Men accuse women of being unfaithful, of being materialistic, of lacking depth, because men expected them to mirror their illusions. But how can one be betrayed by what was never promised? Women never vowed eternity. That vow existed only in the mind of the man, forged by his own intoxication. Schopenhauer would say it is not women who deceive men, but men who deceive themselves. This is why relationships often feel like collisions between two worlds. The man approaches with poetry, the woman responds with pragmatism. The man seeks ideals, the woman seeks results. He sees the relationship as transcendence. She sees it as alliance. And yet, she plays her part convincingly, allowing his illusions to flourish, because his illusions serve her purpose. His poetry makes him devoted, loyal, willing to sacrifice. His blindness becomes her advantage. Now consider the rituals of courtship, the endless dances of love. The man believes he is wooing her with flowers, with songs, with promises of forever. He is intoxicated by the beauty of the game. But what is she doing? She is observing. She is calculating. She is weighing his value, not in words but in what he provides. The man believes the gestures matter. The woman knows the foundation matters. She lets him play his game of illusions, all the while deciding if he is fit to be chosen. This is why Schopenhauer's words remain dangerous even now. He tore down the idea that men and women seek the same thing in love. He revealed that one side plays in dreams, the other side plays in reality. Men, in their blindness, accuse women of manipulation. But manipulation only exists when someone refuses to see the reality before them. If you know the game, you cannot be manipulated. If you cling to illusions, you will always be prey. And here lies the cruelty of nature. It encourages men to live in illusions, because illusions make them effective. A man who believes in eternal love will sacrifice, will protect, will labor, will bleed for his beloved. His illusions make him a willing servant of nature's command. Meanwhile, the woman, grounded in reality, ensures the fruits of his sacrifice are secured. Nature wins. The species continues. The man, however, believes he is writing a love story, when in truth he is writing a chapter in nature's relentless novel of survival. The difference between illusion and reality is not a minor detail. It is the very architecture of relations between men and women. One builds castles in the sky, the other builds foundations on the ground. One believes in eternal flames, the other in lasting shelter. One dreams of immortality through love, the other ensures immortality through children. And as long as men refuse to see this divide, they will remain trapped in the cycle, forever confusing illusion with reality. Power is not always where men believe it resides. Men imagine power in crowns, in armies, in wealth, in conquest. They see power as dominance, as the ability to command and be obeyed. But Schopenhauer pointed to a darker, subtler truth. Women hold power not by open strength, but by weakness. Their apparent fragility, their delicacy, their tears, their helplessness. These are not disadvantages, they are weapons. And with them, women bend men to their will without ever raising a sword. Consider the battlefield of the sexes. The man arrives armed with muscle, wealth, ambition, and confidence. He believes these will make him master. He believes his strength guarantees control. Yet in the presence of a woman's vulnerability, he becomes undone. Her weakness calls forth his protection. Her fragility commands his sacrifice. He feels noble, heroic, masculine when he bends himself to her needs. But in truth, he has surrendered. Her weakness has conquered his strength. Schopenhauer observed that women rarely achieve power through direct confrontation. They achieve it through subtlety, through emotion, through appearing in need. When a man sees a woman cry, his instincts betray him. He drops his defenses, he softens his resolve. He rushes to comfort, to support, to fix. He believes he is the protector, but in reality, he has been disarmed. What he mistakes for weakness is a strategy older than history itself. And this strategy is far more effective than brute force. Men fight wars, but women survive them. Men compete, destroy, and die for power. Women inherit the aftermath by wielding influence over those who remain. Even kings, with all their authority, bend before their queens, mistresses, or concubines. Not because the woman holds the sword, but because she holds the key to his heart, his desire, his pride. And in the realm of desire, strength collapses before weakness. Think of how societies are built. Men construct laws, governments, armies. But within the private sphere of the home, the woman reigns supreme. She does not reign by decree, but by persuasion, by charm, by silence, by suggestion. She reigns by appearing dependent, while ensuring dependence in return. A man may rule the empire outside, but within his walls he serves. And he does so willingly, believing it is his choice, never realizing he has been led. Schopenhauer wrote that women do not fight openly, because they do not need to. Their genius lies in turning weakness into leverage. What seems like helplessness is a form of control. When a woman appears fragile, she awakens a man's instinct to guard her. When she appears lost, she invites him to lead, but in following that invitation, he begins to act according to her design. His actions are guided, his energy directed. And all the while he thinks he remains in command. This inversion of power is invisible to most men, because they cannot imagine that their strength could be conquered by what appears weaker. But the paradox is this: men die for honor. Women live through strategy. Men spill blood to prove dominance. Women shed tears to ensure survival. And survival is the true measure of power. Who commands when the sword is gone? Not the warrior lying on the battlefield, but the woman who ensured others fought for her. Even the very dynamic of attraction reveals this power. A woman does not need to chase a man. She only needs to attract, to hint, to suggest. The man will do the chasing. He will bring gifts, he will labor, he will compete with rivals. She sits at the center, while men revolve around her like planets around a sun. Her apparent passivity is not weakness, it is dominion. She governs not by force, but by gravitational pull. And this is the brilliance Schopenhauer exposed: women do not conquer men by meeting strength with strength. They conquer by turning strength against itself. The man who prides himself on being protector will sacrifice everything to protect her. The man who prides himself on generosity will impoverish himself to provide for her. The man who prides himself on honor will bind himself in promises she extracts. His virtues become his chains, and she holds the key. This is why Schopenhauer described women as masters of manipulation, though not always consciously. Their methods are not calculated plots. They are instincts honed by nature. A child crying learns quickly how to gain attention, comfort, and power over adults. This instinct never disappears. It only evolves. As adults, women wield the same tool, vulnerability, but with far greater effect. They can bend the wills of powerful men, not through strength but through need. And in this way, women secure influence across history. Behind emperors and generals stood wives, mistresses, daughters, and mothers who shaped their decisions. Rarely do we see their names in chronicles, yet their fingerprints are everywhere. They achieved power not by leading armies, but by leading the men who commanded them. They achieved it not by shouting orders, but by whispering suggestions. They achieved it not by brute force, but by appearing too delicate to possess any force at all. Men boast of power as if it belongs to them alone. Yet in their pride, they overlook how often their power has been directed, controlled, or even created by women who seemed powerless. This is the essence of power through weakness. It does not announce itself. It does not need to. It works invisibly, softly, and without resistance, until the strongest man bends his knee without realizing why.